Okay, so again, you see there's no Jew or Gentile. There's also no Levite or tribe of Judah in a sense, right? That's why the word tribe is a play on word for tribe B. So who fits the description? After my flesh dies, no one will be able to fit the description because of the point in history they're in, because of all the righteous tech, breeding, cheating, generational, ill-gotten gains. You work the angle on those things, it's clear. Okay? At first glance, you should know them right, but if you really, and I urge you to write down those ideas, put on a piece of paper, put the reasons why tech, breeding, cheating, and generational ill-gotten gains means it is a sick joke for someone to claim to be a leader, a valid leader, especially a valid holy leader, after my flesh dies. They're just some kind of privileged, allowed to have some kind of public recognition or some type of worm or some behind-the-scenes cult worm or what have you. Okay, verse 20. And it was not without an oath. Others became priests without any oath. But he became a priest with an oath when God said to him, the Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever. Because of this oath, Jesus has become the guarantor of a better covenant. Now there have been many of those priests since death prevented them from continuing in office. But because Jesus lived forever, he has a permanent priesthood. Therefore, he is able to save completely or forever those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. This part is key here. For those of you who are maybe Muslims or you're Jews or you don't understand the concept, you're Christians who don't understand the concept of Jesus interceding, right? Jesus being like the gate, the intermediary. There's various ways to describe it. Okay, why do you need, to obey God through me, and why can't you obey God by yourself? Because you're cheating me out of my right to lead. And Hebrews 7 does a pretty good job, if you read it again and again, take notes and really think about it, of explaining why that is. So we'll get to that in one of these verses soon here. So again, verse 25, I'm going to read it several times to make sure you understand this part. This part's key. Therefore, he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. Okay, of course, until the end, right? Such a high priest truly meets our need, one who is holy, blameless, pure, set apart from sinners, exalted above the heavens. Unlike the other high priests, he does not need to offer sacrifices day after day, first for his own sins and for the sins of the people he sacrificed for their sins once and for all when he offered himself. So why were the Jews in the Old Testament sacrificing these animals and stuff? Because they weren't set apart in a certain way. They didn't have martial power. They weren't a divine warrior. The angels depicted with swords and spears in the root and offspring of David facing Goliath. They didn't go beyond David. They weren't equal or greater than David. And David himself needed them to kind of be closer to God. So it had to be a warrior who goes beyond David, who's more holy and intense. And that's what it's saying right here. Listen very carefully. Okay, in verse 26, it says, such a high priest truly meets our need. Okay, keep in mind a high priest is a rank. And they often wear sashes like they wear in Eastern martial arts and belts. Okay, why? I even have a picture I posted in one of my channels where there's an Orthodox priest who's making a joke and he says that he's wearing a belt from karate or kung fu. Okay, because it's that much connected. Okay, they're superimposing on themselves on the martial art order. The Lord is a warrior, right? He's not this kind of feeble kind of just preacher. He's a warrior. So it says, such a high priest truly meets our need, one who is holy, blameless, pure, set apart from sinners, exalted above the heavens. Now, how did David exalt himself? Okay, now there's a scripture, I think it's in Daniel, where it says the stars wage war. And in Revelation, it says the stars stand for the angels. Okay, the angels are stars, and they're also spirits in a scroll. They're also ideas. They're also angles, and some of them fall out of favor. For example, if there was a bunch of martial arts systems, right, and you have to obey God through me, obviously, and they start doing their thing on their own because they don't like that my form of martial arts is exalted above theirs, then they're like fallen angels. And so it is with scientists and nations, right? They represent these things, kings of the earth. We see that in Psalm, I believe it's 82, okay, where they're called gods with a little g, which is basically angels, basically. That's why they're, the fallen are called fallen angels. Okay, and it's talking about the star of the show, right? The sun, the morning star, is also one title for the sun. It's also the title for Lucifer, and a false morning star that's said to appear in the morning before the sun. And I'm not that much into astronomy or astrology. What I have looked into it, when I've looked into it, there's not much there other than there's interesting patterns of nature to be seen. But there's a lot of stuff like trees and bodies of water and animals and stuff like this that also is interesting. So it's not this must-know stuff. Okay, so again, Therefore, he is able to save completely or forever those who come to God through him. Through him, you have to obey God through me, because he always lives to intercede for them. So the point of me being here up to a certain point, so I always live to intercede for the children of God. When you can't be the children of God after my flesh dies, okay, I can't intercede for you. You're in rebellion. You chose to live. Time's up. If you throw your kid off a cliff, I can't magically save that person. You forsook him. If you reproduce when it's clear that you shouldn't reproduce, and you come from a long line of people who reproduced evil and raised people to be evil, whether you want to admit what evil is cheating the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order of its right to lead first and foremost, because you can't be good outside of that. So if you're not giving me my right to lead, you're cheating me. The people who wrote the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible all were cheating the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order out of its right to lead, because they didn't point right to it. They said, hey, you need to obey God, come to my church and do so. And they're in rebellion. And isn't that what you would expect? If Satan leads the whole world astray and there's mosques and synagogues and churches everywhere, you think they're magically right with God? Like, you must be crazy if that's what you think, right? Because there's lots of them. And their messages are nearly identical. And their spirits are nearly identical. Okay, so who is then set apart from the masses of these people? They're like the grains of sand on the beach. They're Gog and Magog, and everyone else on the planet in rebellion is Gog and Magog. Gay G, Guy G, Go, G. There's all kinds of wordplay there. Mage, OG, Game, OG, and we're not talking about OG gangster. But yeah, those guys aren't right with God, right? Okay, and I don't consider myself that. They're talking about O as the reproductive cycle, and the G as the earth deity Gaia, Gaia, and it's not just those ladies and gentlemen in San Francisco, okay, who are in gay parades or some. It's not just Hollywood, it's not just liberals. Everyone who cheats me out of my right to lead is on the spectrum of gay and not thinking straight. Okay, so you shouldn't, just blame people who identify as gay and beat them up. You can never have had a gay, a gay sexual inclination, so to speak, in terms of being attracted to another male in your life, and still be in the spirit of Gaia. It's the spirit of earth hugging and being scared to obey God through me, to the point where you don't obey God through me. That's what it really means to be gay. It's not thinking straight. It's thinking crooked. Make straight the way for the Lord. And that word plays like that for a reason. Again, no offense to anybody, so on and so forth. So such a high priest truly meets our need. What is the need here? Why does he say they meet our need? Remember, Paul is said to be a Jew. Why has he said that this guy meets his need and not the masses of Jewish priests and Christians who say, but I'm of Jewish descent? Why does he say, hey, the throne is established in righteousness, Proverbs 16:12. Why do they say that Jesus meets our need? Because he's set apart as pure. And the throne is established in pure righteousness, holy righteousness, right? This pure, holy water, pure divine water is what holy water is said to symbolize in the church, for example. And he's set apart from sinners. Why everyone else cheat me out of my right to lead? I'm not. They have no viable counterargument. What do you call somebody who has no viable counterargument for what the right thing is to do, and they're still not doing it? That is an unrepentant sinner, clearly. Okay. So unlike the other high priest, he does not need to offer sacrifices day after day, first for his own sins and then for the sins of the people. He sacrificed for their sins once and for all when he offered himself. For the law appoints his high priest men in all their weakness, but the oath which came after the law appointed the Son, who has been made perfect forever. So what is talking about? Remember, Jesus in the story is symbolic, right? There was no person named Jesus Christ. As they say, there's not even a J sound in Hebrew. They got the image wrong. They got the name wrong. So ask yourself, what else did they get wrong? Again, they got the image wrong. They got the name wrong. Who was at the council must have been wrong. There's no other way to look at it. The Council of Nicaea and whatever other councils they had. So they got the church orders wrong, the name wrong, okay, and they got the image wrong. They even got the race wrong. So it's stupid to look at the story and say, hey, that's what happens. Well, what's it talking about? It's talking about what it's talking about in Isaiah 57. The righteous are taken away to be spared from evil because of what they think in their head, what they think in their skull, so to speak. Golgotha, the place of the skull. So those who had the right mentality, right? The wrong mentality is the worldly government. Govern and ment, meaning mind, as in mental and mentality. Okay? The right mentality is insisting on universal pinpoint and moral precision while in the divine order, not relying on yourself, but the order God set apart to lead, right? We all start in Africa. Some people know better about God than others. We know by martial arts, tati, being straightforward and honest through the use of the stick. The Lord is a warrior, David versus Goliath. And the exact arguments made in 1 Samuel 17. No sabotage, no trickery, no bullshit. Like my top martial arts challenge. But there cannot be replicate, or someone can't do something similar after my flesh dies because of tech, breeding, cheating, and generational ungodly names. And my divine verdict, they're ruled out. Not even close to right. They're ruled out. So I'm set apart.